Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome on into the swear word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and hey, this is a podcast for the chili community, by the chili community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Man, we are going to be diving in, talking through soil growing, hydroponics, and aquaponics. We're going to compare the pros, the cons, the cost of just jumping into this, and really if there's any kind of trade-offs and benefits. So let's get ready for episode 89. All right, hey, welcome on in Swear Nation. So glad to have everyone here rocking and rolling. Whether you're tuning in on Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcast, thank you so much for being here, locked in, having fun. Hey, continue to share this out with other like-minded chili heads and continue to grow the overall community and channel here. Thank y'all so much for everything y'all do. We have three amazing sauces here from t0tsauce that are going to be featured on Hot or Not here in a second. But we also are going to be diving into the great conversation of growing in soil versus growing hydroponically versus growing with aquaponics. Just to name a few, we're going to compare these, both of the pros, the cons, the cost to get involved, and a few more things. So by the end of this episode, you will know exactly which method you can use and you can try and what might thrive in your area. Let's go ahead and jump on over to Hot or Not. Welcome on into Hot or Not. Man, we got three amazing sauces here from t0tsauce. We have Chaos, we have Bloopers, and we have Skybus. So can't wait to dive into these. As you can see here on the labeling, love the overall, fun, playful banter that's also enticing you to kind of look deeper into the details. Bloopers, there's all kinds of little small details going on. Skybus, very much band-centric, as this is a band collaboration sauce. And then Chaos is another collaboration sauce. Want to go ahead and give a breakdown if this is your first time checking out Hot or Not. I don't like to read the ingredients ahead of time. I like to let my taste buds do the exploration and really kind of refine and figure out what I'm picking up and what I'm tasting, as well as I don't break it down from a 1 to 10. I do a 1 out of 5. That's based off of these 5 categories here. That's heat, aroma, flavor, versatility, and burn. And heat and burn are two separate things in my books. Heat is that first max 30-second window, what you get, where it's hitting. And then past that 30-second window is where you pick up the burn. That's where it sits, how it sits. Does it migrate? Does it intensify? Does it linger? All of these other things really kind of factor in on the burn. But let's go ahead and we'll start out with Chaos first. So let me grab that bottle here. Give that one a good shake. And for all those that are keeping track, this does have a cellophane pull tab or tear tab. So I will go ahead and give that a good tear. Put that off to the side and give this a shake. Once again, Chaos from t0tsauce. Loving the overall visual appeal of Pepper dumping a beer and some coffee in his mouth. And he's just looking like he's ready to cause some chaos. So here we go. Oh, wow. Very much you're picking up the coffee notes, but there's also a savory body to this aroma. Towards the finish, you're picking up not only the coffee notes still, but you're grabbing a bit of the aroma of the peppers that are going on. Very earthy, very savory, nice, bold complexities from the aroma. Great flow on this sauce. Dark brown with a red tint to the overall color on this sauce. But cheers. Wow. Absolutely amazing. That sauce right there, while it flows great, has a great carryover of overall consistency going on in this sauce. You're also left with some nice texture to it. So you're not just getting a straight watered down sauce. You're getting kind of the best of both worlds. a little bit of texture, a nice pop of seasoning, a nice pop of overall flavor and body on this sauce. Absolutely loving the coffee throughout this. Versatility wise, let's talk on that one real quick, because immediately this pops out in my head with this coffee and this overall great savory body that's going on here and that nice earthy tone. This would be phenomenal, not only, you know, as a hot sauce to finish and top your food, but to use this, incorporate this in, say, some marinades, in some cooking process, whether you're doing like a crock pot or, you know, pan searing, and really trying to get that great overall body and caramelization. You could even like brush this on as you're finishing with some barbecue. Man, that is phenomenal there from the versatility standpoint. Let's talk through the heat. So initially, the heat comes in and hits the front of the lips, the gums, the tongue, starts to really kind of latch on there. So as that flavor really gets kicked in, you're really starting to pick up on the great coffee notes, the nice savory notes there. There's a little bit of an earthy, some sweet note going on there. Definitely picking up some garlic. The sweet note almost reminds me of some kind of like a berry note really kind of coming through there. As that flavor really starts to bring forward, you're left with the great pepper notes that are coming through. I'm definitely picking up some unique pepper notes here, earthy side on these pepper notes that you're getting, and I can't quite tell if that's maybe just from the coffee itself or what, but you know, you do have a nice smooth undertone. Kind of reminds me a little bit of say like a trail mix, as weird as that might sound. Maybe I'm also thinking of, I like to mix in some chocolate covered espresso beans, so you kind of get some of that chocolatey coffee note, but that savory body coming through with a little bit of a fruit, a little bit of a sweetness going on, some garlic. This is a collaboration between Brutal Beer Works, Odd Coffee, and t0tsauce, a disorderly, sweet, and flavorful hot sauce made specifically for the deranged and decadent pizzas created at North Richmond Hills, Texas. First brewery, Brutal Beer Works. So, here we go. Ingredients for Chaos from t0tsauce: chili de árbol, ancho, guajillo, Brutal Beer Works, Brahma, Bach, Odd Coffee, Thunder Buddy, Dark Blend, hibiscus, dried cranberries, raisins, honey fermented garlic, piloncillo, honey, garlic powder, black pepper, kosher salt, cocoa powder, avocado oil, distilled vinegar. Man, absolutely amazing. A very nice, unique body and complexity to this. And it's very well, shown here in the ingredients itself. Dried cranberry and the raisins going on in here, and that honey fermented garlic is just really proving and driving home that point that the garlic that I was picking up also was kind of paired with that sweet note, but I wasn't quite certain what that sweet note was. And that definitely is making sense here. For a hot sauce that has not only coffee in it, but also beer, whenever making this batch, is absolutely amazing. Very unique. Absolutely loving the overall appeal on this. Now, didn't get to really talk on too much the, use cases. I could see myself using this on pizzas, subs, burgers, sandwiches, you name it, quesadillas, tacos. It's pretty endless on that. The only thing I probably wouldn't gravitate towards is going to be a dessert. As the burn is concerned, it's not too bad. It does die back pretty quick, but it is centralized mostly on the center of the mouth. So you kind of hit the tongue, the gums, all in that general area pretty good. And then it slowly fades away. If you're just starting out, this sauce here, you would be able to use, enjoy, and, obviously starting in moderation if you're brand new, and finding out where you're comfortable, incorporating it in more and more. If you are constantly working on your own personal best, you're pushing yourself to the limits all the time, this is going to be a nice mild to medium sauce depending on where you are at. And man, if you're not a coffee person, if that's not your main thing, if you don't like the taste of that, probably not going to be the sauce for you. I love coffee, so this one stands out great for me. And you know, there's quite a few dishes that this would go phenomenal with. So looking forward to that. Let's read off some scores here from t0tsauce. We have heat coming in at 2.89, aroma of 3.8, flavor of 3.85, versatility of a 4, burn of 3.12 for a total swear word rating of 3.53. That is chaos from t0tsauce. Amazing hot sauce here. If you're hearing this and you're like, man, I don't know if coffee is something that I want in my hot sauce, but you like coffee, highly recommend checking this one out. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump into bloopers. All right, give bloopers a good shake here. Once again, a nice perforated cellophane. Go ahead and grab that. Put the wrapper over there and give this one a good shake. All right. So once again, we have a nice sauce here from t0tsauce. This is bloopers. I mean, it looks like a blueberry. If you've ever played the Rampage game, this is what that looks like. You know, scaling the building, destroying the building. That's what this blueberry is doing right now. Oh, wow. Aroma is phenomenal. You're getting a nice sweet note. Some overall vinegar pop is what it's smelling like. Some pepper notes. And just a savory finish to it all. So looking forward to this. But here we go. Nice pour. Another hearty spoonful. Let's get into it. Really incorporate that one. Absolutely. Amazing. Man. Bloopers from t0tsauce. Wow. That is unique. That is amazing. And that is not like what you would expect whenever you're getting into this. This sauce right here, I was expecting something super sweet, overpowering. This is savory. This is amazing. It has the body of the blueberry from a flavor profile standpoint without the sweetness or the overpowering nature that could be, you know, from that. All these ingredients in here are very well balanced, very well planned out. Absolutely loving this one here. This is bloopers from t0tsauce. And wow, oh wow, am I blown away. So let's talk about heat. So initially, I will say right off the bat, comparing chaos to bloopers, bloopers is definitely on the hotter end than chaos. So if you're just starting out, you could still utilize this in moderation, but definitely just find out where you're comfortable and slowly work up. You can always add more. You can never take some back. So keep that in mind whenever you're pushing yourself. If you're always working on your own personal best, you're always pushing yourself, this is going to be a nice medium sauce for you. Absolutely phenomenal. The body and notes on this allow the versatility to just really open up. And so with this sauce here, I could see myself actually using this on a dessert. I could see this going pretty darn well with that, as well as this is going to pair great with like pork tacos, chicken tacos. You know, this would even go great on some pizza, honestly. And I can see myself using this on sandwiches, burgers, as a salad dressing base to really pop forward. Because like I said, you're not really getting a sweet note. You're getting the great flavor. So that would lend itself to creating a nice savory salad dressing as well. That's delivering some heat and delivering that blueberry flavor forward. Now, as far as the heat is concerned, it ends up sitting towards the back of the mouth, not quite the throat, but the back of the mouth, and really just slow build from there. A nice little sting going on too, so maybe there's some habaneros in this, but all in all, absolutely loving this one here. Very unique, very unlike what I was expecting getting into this, but let's go ahead and read off some ingredients here. Fermented blueberries, red habaneros, garlic, Texas honey, salt, distilled vinegar, water, and xanthan gum. You know, that makes perfect sense now why that sweetness is not present in this sauce. You're left with just the natural sweetness and the natural flavor of the blueberries because of that fermentation process that undergoes the blueberries are undergoing, eating all that sugar up. So you're not having to worry about that. And the stinging makes sense, and also it makes sense as to why this would be more like a medium heat sauce by utilizing that red habanero in there. Beautifully done. Just a nice amount of overall body and ingredients going on in here. Perfectly executed. All right, bloopers from t0tsauce. Heat coming in at 3.23. Aroma of 3.9. Flavor of 4.23. Versatility of 4.2. Burn of 3.5 for a total swear word rating of 3.81. There we go. Another amazing sauce. This one is from t0tsauce. This is bloopers. Let's go ahead and grab the last sauce here on Hot or Not, Skybus, and we will check this one out. All right, Skybus. Give this one a good shake. And once again, does have a perforated cellophane. So let me get that out of here and on over to the side. Give it a nice shake again. This is a nice overall bright red color to the sauce. Like what's going on. You're seeing some pepper bits. You're seeing some stuff going on inside of this sauce. No flow restrictor for all those that are keeping track. But here we go. Give that a nice pour. Look at that there. Love the overall flow and look on this sauce. So let me set that back over there, and cheers. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Right off the bat, creamy, savory, smooth. Absolutely loving what is going on here. There's a note of some kind of like earthy note to start. Then it goes into a savory. Then there's a little bit of a sweet undertone that goes on. And then coming from the sweet undertone, you really start to feel the pepper latch in, latch on, ramp things up, as well as bring some of that great pepper flavor forward. Absolutely love this one here. You can see as this one really starts to pick up from the initial heat standpoint, you get a nice window of really being able to fully appreciate everything that's going on in this sauce. And then from that point, it starts to do a gradual handoff towards the pepper notes, the heat, everything kind of coming in. So initially, you're getting it right on the gums, on the tongue. And this one kind of hits a little bit more towards the back of the mouth, more so than the front. Now, with that being said, really once the burn kicks in, it doesn't gradually grow from there. What you're seeing is it really just starts to shift a little bit further to the back of the mouth. Still not quite the throat, but it's almost as if it's diminishing from, say, the front or middle of your mouth and really consolidating back there. This is one that I would, if I were to have ranked these in what I would have thought heat-wise from hottest to most mild, I would say Chaos is probably mild, and then from there it would be Skybus, and then Bloopers. So Bloopers is probably the hottest out of these three here based on what I just tried. So to give you some context in that, if you're starting out, still something you would be able to utilize, be able to enjoy without really burning yourself up. It is going to be something you want to do in moderation as well, because you're trying to find out, definitely as you're starting out, you're really trying to find out where you're comfortable and how you can continue to incorporate hot sauce in your life and in your journey and in your food. So let's read off some ingredients here for Skybus. So ingredients are red habanero, bell pepper, guajillo pepper, honey fermented garlic, rye whiskey, molasses, brown sugar, paprika, chili powder, peppercorn, kosher salt, avocado oil, distilled vinegar, apple cider vinegar, water, and xanthan gum. It says caution contains alcohol. So I guess that's the rye whiskey that's going on in here. Absolutely amazing. I love the flavor. I love the body on this. If you are constantly working on your own personal best and pushing yourself, that's definitely a medium sauce all day long, depending on where your tolerance is at, of course. But, one that is super easy to grab, go, use. It's going to work very well with a lot of your dishes, a lot of your common go-tos. Not going to be one that you would gravitate for a dessert, but definitely one that you could utilize in, say, a mixed drink, a Bloody Mary, etc., and still be able to bring that forward. With this one also containing alcohol, if that's something that is of bother to you, probably not the sauce for you, but it's okay. There's others that are phenomenal from t0tsauce. All right, Skybus from t0tsauce, heat coming in at 3.12, aroma of 3.4, a flavor of 3.95, versatility of 4.1, burn of 3.5, for a total swear word rating of 3.62. There we go. Amazing sauce there. That sauce is once again from t0tsauce. And all three of these, I will have the direct links down below, as well as a main link to their website, so you can check out the full lineup of amazing sauces. A few others have already been reviewed on previous episodes, but let's do this. Let's go ahead and talk about different growing mediums. All right, so let's talk about three different methods that you might, one that everyone knows and is very familiar with, and then two others that, oftentimes, maybe it's not something that you're looking into or you ever thought about. So we're going to discuss the pros and cons of soil growing, hydroponically growing, and aquaponics. We're going to talk the pros, the cons, the cost, the time to be able to get involved with these, and really just keep it high level to kind of give you an idea of where these could work and how these could work for you in your garden. So growing peppers in soil is oftentimes the most common and traditional, widely practiced method. That's where gardening really began, and for many years, it just has continued to grow that way. The pros of this method is really being able to, the accessibility and the inexpensive nature of it to start this process, as well as it is natural and sustainable. If you're doing this right, you're able to continue to keep a strong, promote your healthy soil, the biodiversity, help to be able to support those beneficial insects and those microbes that ultimately help your yield and really keep your healthy plants going and pumping out what you need. The cons to this, though, are you are still easily susceptible to pests and diseases. Definitely, if the soil is out of whack, if it's lacking the nutrients that it needs, you can oftentimes run into this issue, as well as you're going to have to be watering regularly. You're going to have to be working with, keeping weeds out if you're not using a nice barrier to help block that out, or you're not top dressing with, say, some, as we talked about before, with some wood chips for the RCW method. Ultimately, this comes down to soil maintenance as well. The yields can vary quite a bit just based on the weather, the soil quality, and really what you have going on. The overall cost side of things, you can start this process typically for, as cheap as, say, like $10. You could probably start for free as well if you were to take a note from what Jacob had mentioned on a previous podcast, being able to utilize Facebook Marketplace, find those deals, look for things. You can even start by recycling and upcycling some items, such as cups that you get from the store to start your seeds in. You really can get pretty bare bones with this, or you can go straight to outside in the ground and get it going. So really, if you're utilizing pots, if you're utilizing bagged soil, or garden beds, and you're kind of having to build these things out, that can increase the cost. However, you don't need all of that in order to grow. You just need to be able to have the right tools to be able to work the ground and go from there. So time to set up. Let's talk about that. That's kind of starting to teeter into what I just mentioned. It's pretty quick and easy to get started. You're, of course, just going to be prepping the soil. You're going to be planting your seedlings, and then you're good to go. So whether you're buying, if you're buying pre-started plants or if you're using seeds, now you can start peppers indoors or outdoors. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, the main thing is if you're going to be starting them indoors, you're going to be wanting to make sure that you're up potting in a proper time so it doesn't become root bound. And then once it becomes root bound, it's not really going to get to its full potential. So, that's a great way to look at that. Ultimately, this method is perfect for beginners as there is a learning curve, but it is manageable. It's pretty easy to figure out as far as the tools and knowledge needed. If you have any questions about that, definitely look back at the episode with Jacob Deathridge and the one that is with Gary Montcalm, where we talk about growing, the tools, the basic knowledge that you need from that. So with that being said, let's talk about hydroponics. So hydroponics, just a quick overview of that. Hydroponics is taking the soil out of the equation. Ultimately, you're letting your plants grow directly in the nutrient-rich water solutions. It does give it a little bit more of what you would consider like a high-tech way to kind of look at this whole gardening process. It's not to be super confusing. It is also very user-friendly, but let's go ahead and roll through some of these pros here. So you typically have faster and higher yields, being able to precisely dial in these nutrients. Now, while that is the case, you're also utilizing less water compared to your traditional soil gardening methods because it is sitting in those readily available water nutrients to be able to absorb as it goes. With this method, you're not having to worry about weeds unless you had some kind of weird case where you brought it in and it happened to be growing alongside your pepper plant and you didn't pick it. Outside of that, I cannot imagine how you would be able to get weeds in your hydroponics. So that is a huge benefit, is no weeding and no soil-borne pests that you really have to worry about. That's not to say that you don't get pests. You can definitely get pests if you're not doing it right and keeping it in a nice, clean environment. Let's talk about the cons for hydroponics. So initially, it is a higher cost for this equipment. It's going to take a few things from you. You're going to have to really focus on monitoring your plants, monitoring the overall pH, the nutrient level, the water level, making sure that your air pump is working. If you're using an air stone, if you're using the Kraken method, then you're not using the air to pump in there. It's more of a still water, still nutrient base. That tends to have some other issues. That's for a more in-depth conversation on hydroponics. But that is also a very simple and very cost-effective way to jump in without having to get too many new pieces of equipment to really be able to have this method working. So this is also a method that is heavily dependent on electricity because of the pumps, because of the lights. If you're growing indoors, you're doing this hydroponically, you're going to need the light. You're going to need the pump to keep the air flowing through the water. Otherwise, you will start to have problems with your plants as far as oxygen and the light not being there. There's a few things that could go awry from that. So overall, the cost breakdown on hydroponic grows for peppers, you can expect as a initial entry beginner setup, not a big outrig of growing a mass amount. You can expect to spend about $100 to $300 for a beginner setup. And that's just, ongoing nutrients and electricity costs that really kind of gets baked in over time. As I had mentioned before, there are some hydroponic methods that are not utilizing air pumps, so you kind of can cut down on that. And if you were to utilize this hydroponically outside using that same method, you could cut down on the light cost, but then you open yourself up to more pests potentially coming in and causing havoc to your plant and to your overall yield. Now, the time to set up, this typically only takes just a few hours, depending on how intricate your system is that you're trying to assemble, because really you're trying to build out the structure, you're trying to add the nutrients, and from there just get planting, right? So you can still start seeds this way as well. It would probably be best to just start seeds in a normal method and then move it into the hydroponic setup, but you can do either way. I know me personally, I have started seeds with rock wool, cutting it into each little cube into 4 smaller cubes, and then making my own indention for the seed to go in there from there. And as from a hydroponic standpoint, that's been the method at which I would start that. I would consider this method a little bit more intermediate, as it is, needing to be able to know how to monitor the systems, be able to troubleshoot any issues that you might have, whether that be with your air stone not getting in, or you're having a leak or something of that nature, or really being able to, if you have a daisy chained system, making sure that the buckets are appropriately full and that there's not some kind of blockage from one tank to the next. Really cleaning out that nutrient base on a consistent basis. All these things kind of make that more intermediate. So most gardeners, they will find that it is worth the effort, but also, something else that hasn't been talked about yet is the majority of time, if you're growing hydroponically, you're not growing organically, you're growing with synthetic nutrients in the majority of the time. Definitely for those that are just starting out, they're going to grab something off the shelf that might be synthetic. If that is something of importance to you and something you're trying to stay clear of, that might not be the method for you. So up next, we have aquaponics, and I like to view this one ultimately as, before the overall breakdown of kind of how this goes, pros and cons. This is a nice mixture of, if you like to grow organically, but you also like the idea of being able to not water as much and be able to utilize a more natural method of delivering the nutrients needed. Aquaponics is a nice combination of the two. So it combines the hydroponics with the agriculture, or in this case, aquaculture, and uses the fish to really supply the nutrients for your plants. And it ends up starting to create a nice ecosystem right there in your backyard. So if that's something that sounds enticing to you, aquaponics could definitely be the thing for you. The pros of it is both the plants and the fish. You can, if you're supplying the fish in there of which you would eat, you could also kind of dual harvest this situation. If you are not into that and you're maybe looking at an aquaponic system for a nice place to relax and kind of just zen out, if you will, then maybe not getting fish that would be that you're eating, but you're still able to maintain and take care of. Aquaponics also is highly sustainable and eco-friendly. Ultimately, like I had said before, the plants and the peppers are both able to create a nice ecosystem together. The fish are feeding the plants, and it really just makes it all work out. So it is a minimal ongoing cost just for the nutrients, since the fish waste is the main byproduct that the plants are utilizing naturally. So as far as the pros go, that's pretty well encompassing of that. From a con perspective of aquaponics, it is expensive. It is time consuming to set up. I mean, if you don't already have an existing pond set up with the fish to be able to utilize this setup, you're having to create a separate rig, and it can become cumbersome. It does require knowledge of both fish care and hydroponics in order for this system to work. It is balance of this system is extremely crucial. And being able to, having a mistake in this method could be pretty devastating to not only your plants, but the fish that are in there, which then the whole system basically would have to be cleaned out, redone, and get back into a full harmonious balance, if you will. So if you are into fish, if that is something that you already love to have in your life and take care of them, and you know about fish, but maybe you're not too certain on the hydroponic side of things, plenty of ways that we can dive into that. If that's something of interest to you, let me know down below, and we can dive a little bit deeper into that, as well as let's talk about the cost of this. So, on average, we're just going to kind of just look at this at a very small scale, very, very minimal setup. So, ultimately, from what I was looking at, you can find setups to where you would have to assemble it all yourself, costing anywhere from about $500 to about $1,000 for a very small system. That's depending as well on the materials that you're using and the fish species that you're going with. Those play a huge factor in the overall cost of this. Now, the time to really get this set up that it can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. I mean, it's really kind of dependent on how complex you're trying to get with this. What setup and how you're trying to feed. Are you doing some intricate maze? Are you using just essentially a box that you're having your fish in, that you're also using the hydroponically plants to sit on top and float? And oftentimes, this method is one that you'll see really being used towards like the advanced person, not geared towards everyone. Ultimately, you have to, once again, know about fish. You have to know about hydroponics. This can be extremely rewarding, but it's definitely not one that you just want to jump in without knowing everything. It's very costly, very time consuming to get going. But once it's going and you have a solid understanding of the sense of the system, it is absolutely going to be singing perfectly for you. The other part that would potentially walk into the ease of use aspect is if you're in a state or a overall climate. We'll just talk as a climate that is not conducive of having fish really kind of thrive and plants be outside. This method might not be geared towards you. So if you're in a extremely cold environment and you don't have a way of, say, like massive indoor greenhouse, which is a whole nother avenue that you could have gone. But if you don't have these things to really help not only the fish be able to continue to feed the plants, but the plants to be able to live and thrive and be good, then that's potential issue for you there. So I would keep that in mind. Let's talk about just a quick recap of everything that we've kind of discussed, a little bit of a head-to-head comparison, if you will. So a cost recap, some of these, like I said, could be dwindled down even more if you're taking the time to find the right deals, if you're really trying to hone in and figure out what materials, what products you're going to be using throughout the whole entire way. You could potentially squeeze these numbers down a bit, but they could also go the other way. You could drastically, ramp this up. From a cost recap, here we go. Soil, you're going to be expecting to spend about anywhere from $10 to $50 just to get going, just to get things moving. And that's not even saying that everything's in perfect harmony, but that's to get you going. That's to get your plants moving. And then from there, you're going to be spending more on water, nutrients, and really getting that soil balance in health. Like I said, check out the videos from Jacob Deathridge and from Gary Montcalm being on the podcast recently, where we discuss some budget-friendly ideas on how you can maximize what you're getting out of your soil grows and really be able to take full benefit from that. For hydroponically, the cost breakdown would be about $100 to $300, and then aquaponics about $500 to $1,000 plus. That is where the aquaponics can really just run away, and it can become extremely overpowering in the overall cost realm. So once again, recap: soil 10 to 50, hydroponics 100 to 30, Aquaponics, 500 to 1,000 plus as the overall cost breakdown is concerned. Time to set up, soil 1 to 2 hours, hydroponics about a few hours, we'll say 2 to 3 on that. If you're setting everything up, you already have everything bought and ready to go. Aquaponics, that could definitely take days to weeks, depending on your knowledge, skill base, and everything needed to be involved as far as getting the fish ready to go into the pond and everything. So ease of use, soil is definitely geared towards the friendly beginner. That is the method to go, is soil based. If you are growing hydroponically, that's going to be a little bit more intermediate. There's some moving parts. You have to kind of be able to watch your levels, your pH, your nutrients, all these things. Extremely important whenever you're doing hydroponics. And then aquaponics is definitely advanced in this. So now's the question, who wins? Well, ultimately, it depends on your goals. What soil is perfect is for the traditional growers. Hydroponically is great for those that are chasing the fast growth. Maybe you're trying to get an extra generation out of your overall pepper grow. You're trying to strengthen the genetics on a pepper in a short period of time. You can utilize that to get an extra push maybe in those time frames that it is too cold outside and you want to grow indoors. Hydroponics is great for that, to be able to carry that forward and be able to enjoy peppers year round. And then aquaponics is ideal for those that are looking for, something that's sustainable. They love fish, they love to garden. They're trying to find a way to bring those two together, and they have a nice knowledge base of what hydroponics is. Aquaponics is going to be there for that. That's going to be ultimately who is going to be best suited for each one of these methods. Now, I can speak to my own personal use case. I have done, obviously, soil utilized in ground, in pots, in raised beds. It is phenomenal. You get it set up, you get it dialed in, and then it is just very much, you're enjoying yourself. It is peaceful. It is relaxing. Hydroponics, same thing. It just takes a lot more of an initial setup, an initial push to get going. But once that's going, I like to have that running during those cold winter months, that I'm able to still have peppers on hand, be able to enjoy myself, and maybe grow something that I didn't want a whole bunch of, but I just would like to, try out that variety, try out that pepper. That's when I typically default to hydroponics, because then I can keep it indoors, keep it controlled, and, really find out what that pepper is like. And then aquaponics, I don't have any personal firsthand experience with this. Now, I have been to a few farms that do aquaponic grow, and it is very cool to be able to see. Oftentimes, these plants are utilizing some kind of a flotation device, which is, I've seen everything from pool noodles that have been cut, as well as styrofoam tops, and all the things above. So I even saw one that was a bodyboard that they had drilled holes in just big enough for the net cup and the plant to fit in. And so it just kind of floated around the little pond thing where the fish could kind of eat from. And then you could kind of see the sides of the fish, and it was a cool experience. So if that sounds like something for you, then aquaponics is definitely the route to look into. So whether you're growing peppers in soil, hydroponics, or aquaponics, each method has its unique advantages and challenges. The key here is to finding what works best for you, your space, your time, your budget. If you've been enjoying these grow talks on the podcast, let me know down in the comments if there's an area or avenue that you would like to discuss further. Continue to share this out with other like-minded chili heads as we continue to embark in everything to do with the world of hot. If you enjoyed the products that were featured here tonight on Hot or Not, I'll have the direct links down below for t0tsauce on these 3 sauces here, as well as a link to the main site so you can check out the full lineup of amazing hot sauces. Don't forget, new episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors, podvision.io. If you are looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you've hit a bump in the road, you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all your needs, as well as webdx.one. If you have a business, you have an online presence, you have a website, but maybe it's not reflective of how amazing you are, or it's not a good representation of you and your business, highly recommend checking out webdx.one for all your needs. They're able to help with your small or medium business grow with automation. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.